eye to eye, and he said, "I'm Tom Brady, and I'm the best decision this organization has ever made."
The Patriots dynasty is over. On April 16th, 2000, the Patriots selected Michigan quarterback Tom Brady with the 199th pick of the draft. What would go on to happen over the span of the next 20 years is something that no one could have possibly predicted. 6 Super Bowl wins, 9 Super Bowl appearances, and easily the most storied dynasty in NFL history, which will all come crashing down this offseason. For the first time in 20 years, Tom Brady is going to be testing free agency, and it doesn't look like he has any plans to return to the Patriots in 2020. To explain how this all happened, we have to go back to the 2017 season when the 49ers traded pennies on the dime for, at the time, Patriots backup quarterback Jimmy Garoppolo. Now, right off the bat, something about this trade felt very off. Jimmy Garoppolo was selected in the second round of the 2014 NFL Draft with the 62nd pick overall. It was clear from the get-go that the Patriots hoped to eventually replace Brady with Garoppolo, but it was also very clear that they viewed Garoppolo as a raw talent that needed some time to develop. So over the span of the next 3 years, Garoppolo would see very little playing time, but when he eventually got his first chance, he rose to the occasion, going 2-0 in lieu of Tom Brady, who had been suspended for 4 games. And that 2-0 run ended up being a crucial part of the Patriots' path to their 5th Lombardi trophy. And heading into 2017, Belichick felt confident in Garoppolo, maybe a little bit too confident. You see, in the middle of the 2017 season, Belichick made it clear that he wanted to move on from Tom Brady. And that desire to move on from Brady, let alone move on from him mid-season, created a rift between the two key pieces of the dynasty. It all culminated when Patriots owner Robert Kraft stepped in and forced Belichick to trade Jimmy Garoppolo, ultimately siding with Tom Brady. So that's what Belichick did, but that rift never went away. Now, in my opinion, both Brady and Belichick have a right to be upset. Now, in Brady's case, the willingness to get rid of your franchise quarterback of the last 2 decades, let alone the willingness to do so mid-season, Belichick definitely crossed a line as far as I'm concerned. That said, ultimately, Belichick's desire to move on from Brady makes a lot of sense. Now, over the years, Brady has gotten most of the credit for the Patriots dynasty, and while Brady does deserve credit, I would argue that Belichick deserves the majority of the credit. Belichick is the one that established this system that has been seemingly impenetrable over the years, and Belichick has consistently surrounded Brady with solid pieces on both sides of the ball. Yet Brady has gotten almost all of the credit. I think that deep down, Belichick knows that he deserves more credit than he gets. And he realized that the only way that he could make this case is by winning another ring without Brady. And this rift is why Brady will not return to the Patriots in 2020. He feels challenged by Belichick, and he wants to prove that he is the main reason why the Patriots dynasty happened. But where will he go to do that? Well, honestly, I'll be quite surprised if he lands anywhere else that isn't on one of these teams. So I want to take some time to cover each team, the pros, the cons of each team, and the likelihood of Brady landing with each of these teams, starting with the Chargers. Now, the Chargers went 5-11 in 2019, but what if I told you that with Brady, they could have gone 14-2 and won the AFC West? This is because 9 of the Chargers' losses this past season were in 1-score games. Now, last year, Rivers had a touchdown to interception ratio of 23-20, with a handful of these interceptions coming late in the fourth quarter with a chance to tie or win the game. Rivers' poor decision-making in key moments is why the Chargers went 5-11 and why the Chargers got rid of him. And it is why the Chargers should heavily consider pursuing Brady. Although Brady's completion rate was 6% worse than Rivers, Brady threw more touchdowns with less than half of Rivers' interceptions. Brady could fall off of a cliff next year, and he'd still be better than Rivers because he rarely makes a poor decision. Now, let's be honest here. Part of the reason why Brady's completion percentage rate dropped this year is because of the Patriots' lack of talent at wide receiver. This would not be an issue, though, if Brady were to go to the Chargers, as the Chargers have one of the NFL's best wide receivers in Keenan Allen. They also have an emerging star in Mike Williams, who eclipsed 1,000 yards last year on only 49 receptions, which means he's averaging 20 yards a catch. He led the NFL last year in yards per catch, and The 1-2 punch of Keenan Allen and Mike Williams make up what easily is the best wide receiving corps on this list. In all of this, we also have to consider Brady's TB12 brand. LA is a massive market, and living there would be huge from a branding standpoint. Now, the Chargers also have $56 million in cap space this year, which would easily allow for them to give Brady a fat paycheck. And bringing Brady in would be great for the Chargers, as they are currently struggling to drum up interest for their team out in LA, and Brady would sell a ton of tickets and help establish a proper Chargers fan base out in LA. This all sounds like a win-win for the Chargers and Brady. Brady will get paid, have solid talent to throw to, and be in the LA market. The Chargers would be able to sell a boatload of tickets and win more games. This all sounds perfect. Why wouldn't Brady go to the Chargers? Well, to start, their O-line ranks among the worst in the league, and at the age of 43, going from a top 10 ranked O-line to a bottom 5 ranked O-line, yeah, that's not going to end well. On top of that, Brady doesn't really have any connections to anyone in the Chargers organization. That doesn't necessarily mean he won't go to the Chargers, but it just means the Chargers have less leverage for him because they are a completely unknown territory for Brady. But the O-line could become a non-issue really quickly if they focus on bolstering it up in the upcoming draft. And considering the fact that the O-line is really the only outstanding hole in their roster, having tunnel vision in this draft would not really be much of an issue if they got Brady. Overall, I think that Brady to the Chargers is definitely plausible. They could offer a lot for Brady, and I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up playing in LA in 2020. Moving on, we have the Raiders, who went 7-9 in 2019 with Derek Carr, which is quite promising, especially when you consider all of the offseason drama and the distractions with Antonio Brown, along with the fact that this was only year 2 of the Gruden rebuild. Now, speaking of Gruden, he is arguably the best coach of the 4 teams on this list. He's the only one that has won a Super Bowl as head coach, and with some help from Brady, him and Gruden could put together an incredible system for the Raiders. Now, the Raiders also just made their move to Las Vegas and are looking for a way to draw interest to the team. What better way to do that than bring Brady in? I mean, with Brady as quarterback, the Raiders would sell tons of tickets. There isn't a better way to draw attention than to bring Brady in from free agency. And this isn't only good for the Raiders. Brady could leverage the fact that he'd help sell a bunch of tickets in an effort to get an even bigger contract from the Raiders. In Las Vegas, Brady would have an absolute unit in the backfield, handing the rock off to second-year running back Josh Jacobs, who was snubbed out of Offensive Rookie of the Year honors. Let's be real for a second here. With all that being said, though, I think that the Raiders offer the worst scenario on this list for Brady. Although they may offer him this huge contract and working with Gruden would be great for Brady, they are easily the biggest work in progress on this list. It's pretty clear that Brady wants to go to a contender. The Raiders, as it currently stands, though, are not a contender and don't offer a large amount of offensive support. And considering the fact that Brady was pretty vocal about his frustration with the lack of offensive support in New England last year, why would he want to go to a team like the Raiders, who are in a very similar spot? The Raiders also have the worst defense on this list, ranking in the bottom 10 last year. And when you consider all this and then add insult to injury by adding the fact that Brady would be challenging Mahomes for AFC West supremacy, it does not make much sense at all. And lastly, we have the Titans, a team that snuck into the playoffs last year with a 9-7 record, made it all the way to the AFC Championship, knocking out the 14-2 Ravens and Brady's Patriots along the way. What an incredible story. Brady has made it clear that he wants to contend for a Super Bowl. And of all the teams on this list, the Titans are easily the best spot for him to go and do this. You can make the argument that with Brady, the Titans may have never lost their lead against Mahomes and the Chiefs in the AFC Championship and could have played in the Super Bowl. Now, this is not to say that Tannehill wasn't good last year. He came in when the team was 2-4, won 7 of the next 10 games, and helped the Titans get into the playoffs by the narrowest of margins. And although the story of the Titans in the playoffs was Derrick Henry, Tannehill still deserves a ton of credit for helping them get there in the first place. That all being said, the Titans are easily the best landing spot for Tom Brady. They have a top 10 O-line, which is great for Brady. They have a rising star at wide receiver in A.J. Brown, who was in talks for Offensive Rookie of the Year honors. They have depth at the wide receiver position in Corey Davis and Adam Humphries, along with a reliable tight end in Jonnu Smith. And on top of all of that, he is handing the ball off to King Henry, who is an absolute monster in the backfield and can completely carry a team. The Titans have incredible talent on the offensive side of the ball. And we haven't even touched on the defensive side of the ball, which is a fringe top 10 unit. They also have the 11th most cap space in the league, and with little to no holes to fill, they could easily afford to give Brady a massive contract. And on top of all of that, of all the teams on this list, Brady has the best connection to Tennessee. He won 3 Super Bowls with Titans head coach Mike Vrabel back when Vrabel was still playing, and he is incredibly close to Vrabel, which gives the Titans a ton of leverage if they do want to go and grab him. My only concern with the Titans is, with how good Tannehill was, would they really want to risk rocking the boat by bringing Brady in? I mean, although the Titans are the best landing spot for Brady, they may not be interested at all because Tannehill is doing just fine. Now, Tannehill is a free agent, so it's not like they're kind of strapped to him by any means, but it's almost like, why fix what's not broken? As far as Tom Brady is concerned, the Titans are easily the best landing spot of all the teams I mentioned, and I don't doubt that Brady is heavily considering Tennessee heading into free agency. It's just a matter of whether or not Tennessee is considering him. Before I go, let me ask you, where do you think Tom Brady will be playing in 2020?